Welcome to the June 23rd meeting of the Stockbridge, what is this, Selectboard? Yes. And, our first thing on our agenda tonight is the permit for 8 Hawthorne Road.
Yeah.
And, yep, and I move that we open the hearing to consider the application for special permit, public hearing of the Peanut Gallery LLC for property located at 8 Hawthorne Road. Do I have a second?
Second.
And we need a roll call. Aye, Patrick.
Hi, Chuck.
Hi, Jamie.
All right. The following procedures will be followed. Testimony will be limited to the issues directly related to the subject matter. Only one person will be permitted to speak at a time. All discussion will go through the chair. All parties will conduct themselves civilly, and arguments between parties will not be permitted. So there we go. And is the applicant present?
I am Elizabeth Goodman at King Hibbard, and I am the attorney representing the applicant, and he is present on Zoom.
Okay.
And Mark Wolk is here also, Foresight Engineering and
Great.
Contractor.
Can
And
everybody hear them, or do they need to sit in the chair? Yes, good. Okay.
great. So do you want me to begin or?
Yes, why don't you go through your presentation, and then we'll see if there's any questions from the board.
So this is the existing conditions, and you have a chart in the application that was submitted. And the
I see that?
issue before you is it's a pre-existing non-conforming existing house on the lot. The existing building is shown here. Okay, there are.
You can bring that right up here.
The current house is non-conforming for setbacks on both sides.
There's 32.5
Right.
here. I can speak.
Yeah, sure, of course.
The back is actually conforming 51. So it's 50-foot setback distance. The front is 72. And the rear is 146.
And if you want to look at the proposed, the front and the rear setback for the building are conforming. So the issue for the board is the side yard here and here. If you add the setbacks from the existing, this is no more non-conforming. It doesn't increase the nonconformity. The building itself has been relocated to fit better on the site. And the reason for the relocation, and you're aware of this because you were on the Concom, is the desire to set back a little further from the lake. And so remember with the nonconformity in the existing was like 35 there?
The pre-existing non-conforming is
Yeah,
32.
it's 32 with the deck currently. And in the proposed, it'll be set back to 47.
No, sorry.
Right here.
Yes, oh, here it is.
This
Yes, yeah, in
is,
the front,
right? That's what I'm
Yep,
reading from the
yep.
chart.
You got it.
So it moves from 32 at the edge of the deck, and there's now this new structure will be 47 feet from that side yard. And then so in pulling it back, this whole area on the site is ledge.
All right.
And it protects the neighbor. It's a hill. So the house itself, pulling it towards this site is not intrusive. It doesn't increase the nonconformity issues.
Okay.
It will be a slightly less setback than the existing on this. This is the north side? Yeah, north side.
Right.
But as I say, the total, if you add the total, it is not more non-conforming. And that's our legal position on that.
About 1 foot wider there. You meet in the front, 90 feet, and you meet the back, it's 51.2.
So the other issue for the board is the placement of the septic system. And Mark can speak to this, he's the engineer, but I am informed that the only place on the site that perks is there in the front. That's where the existing system is,
The existing
right?
system is right there.
And it perks. I thought the
This
reason it was
perk.
above ground is because it doesn't perk.
No, it has to perk for a septic system.
Okay.
It has to have a passing.
Oh, there would be tight tank.
So you can't do a tight tank for new construction. So we did perks, 4 perks in this location, 4 deep test pits and 2 percolation tests. Determined groundwater, This has been submitted to Tri-Town Board of Health, and the plan has been approved by Tri-Town Board of Health. And it does create a hardship on the parcel. The rest of the parcel is, we've done test pits throughout the rest of the parcel for geotechnical purposes. And the rest of the parcel is about 2 to 18 inches to ledge conditions. So there's no other place on the lot to put a septic system. And the septic system requires a retaining wall because of the tightness of the parcel. You have to get a driveway in through here. This is the existing driveway and its proposed driveway location. So to fit all of this in correctly, this is a retaining wall, and at the tallest point, which is out here, it's approximately 8 feet tall.
Right, yeah.
But then a side view of that, it's steps. And in the steps will be plantings, so it's vegetated.
Yeah, so we did try, so this is going to be planted from the top and the bottom, and then there's a planter in the middle of the wall. So that's all going to be like a Virginia creeper type of vegetation to mask the wall. There's also planting proposed for in front of this.
And how far is that from the road?
Pines. It is 10 feet from the property line. So here's the property line.
Yeah. And how far is it from the road?
From the road, about 20 feet.
Okay. Okay.
And I know we've had discussions about, well, where's sewer? Is there sewer coming? And Mark said there is no expedient method of connecting this house to sewer. But if the town were in the future to get homeowners together and bring a sewer down in front, obviously you can require the homeowner to connect, despite the septic system that he's invested in. And at that time, he would, have to connect and be on sewer.
And, okay.
So you could mandate that. That's what happens when you put a sewer in front of a house.
It's required by Title V. Once you get sewer, goes in front of the lot, you have to perform and tie in.
So I don't know if you have additional questions about the rest of the site. There are drainage, what do you
This
call
is
them?
infiltration area.
Infiltration
That's
tanks.
required by LPOD.
So the roof drainage is collected?
Roof drainage will be collected and run through an infiltration chamber that has an overflow out the wall, but it's designed to take the substantial storm.
And just in case you haven't been privy to the discussions, when we got the permit from the LPOD.
Planning board.
Yeah.
Planning board.
The slope is regulated under that planning board permit. And so there's walls required to maintain the,
So this is an interior wall here, and there's a wall along the driveway here, but these are about 3 to 4 feet tall.
yeah, they're low, but
This
they're
is
required for the
4.
grading to maintain the, not too steep grade. And then there's a lot of planting that was required and will be.
Well, that's outside our house, the house is, as I understand, our jurisdiction, not
Right, so
what
it's,
the LPOD's doing.
No, but I know, just so you understand what's going on the site, it's a complicated plan.
so it meets the height at 3411, pretty close to 3411, and then it's 10% coverage of the
I
parcel.
saw that. You guys have any questions?
No.
Well, hold on. We're just doing the board now.
No.
No. All right, so I got a question. So my read of 6.1.2 is that non-conforming has to do with every setback, not the aggregate setback. I mean, it sounds like you're making an argument that because the setbacks are in aggregate less non-conforming than what you're proposing, that therefore it should be permitted, rather than looking at each setback as they currently are and whether it creates a new, expansion of its nonconformity. You want to address that?
Yes, I do. The bylaw itself says that the Board of Selectmen may authorize by special permit any change, extension, alteration, or reconstruction of a pre-existing non-conforming structure or use to provide for a different purpose or substantially different, or to a substantially greater extent, if the change will not be in greater non-conformity with open space yard and off-street parking requirements or other requirements of the bylaw. So yes, my interpretation would be there's a reason to to adjust the setback. I mean, you could say, oh, you can build this if you keep the existing 32-foot nonconformity to the lakeside and keep the other nonconformity. And that would be a bad planning decision because it's better to allow this structure to be pulled away from the lake and the overall nonconformity not exacerbated. And that's what it means.
So how about we go to C, Elizabeth? The C says an extension, alteration, or reconstruction that increases the footprint of a pre-existing non-conforming structure. And this is what we're supposed to permit. If said extension, alteration, or reconstruction is no closer to the lot line than the closest point of the existing structure. So what I'm specifically asking about is that this lot line here is what, 7 feet different on this side than what you're proposing. You know,
But what we were saying is it's no closer to the lot line than the existing building. It's just the opposite lot line. We have not increased the nonconformity. Your current nonconformity is a structure that's 35 feet away from the lot line.
yeah.
And we're going to construct a structure that is not 35 feet away. If I were coming to you and asking for a special permit to construct a structure that was only 34 feet from the lot line, I would agree with you. And when this plan first came, we talked about that amongst ourselves. And we said, you cannot increase the nonconformity. But to allow, I mean, this happens all the time. There's a lot this size and there's a building, and you want to adjust the building. And for good reason, you may say, oh, well, we're going to have 3 feet. We're going to set it back further here, but we don't want you to go any closer than it ever was. So you can adjust between the lot sizes.
I would like, if you gentlemen are willing, I would like an interpretation of this argument from Ned and or Michael.
Do you want to go first or? So I already checked, as soon as I heard it, I did double check, and yes, it's my opinion and our legal opinion that each lot line is taken separately as you have
Right.
stated. Yes, that is our interpretation.
What do you guys think?
Let's move on, yeah.
Each lot line is taken separately, so you're saying that we can't move the building to the site that is shown on this plan?
We're not making a decision yet.
Right, I mean,
I don't know, do you have other questions? I mean, that's the issue. It doesn't make sense because the total footprint is not increased.
I get it. No, I understand. I'm just, yeah. I mean, I'm asking the question because these are the
It
issues
also
that.
says the following are examples that are deemed not in greater nonconformity. It doesn't say you can't have another example that for this site otherwise would be a hardship is an appropriate use of the board's discretion. I really strongly feel that that's true because of the unique circumstances of the geography of this site. I mean, I would almost advise a client like this to get a variance, but we don't want a variance. We want the board to agree that this is an appropriate use.
Does anyone else want to speak in favor of this project? And to the degree that we limit it to the building and the matter at hand, does anyone want to speak against this project?
Well, I would like to say something.
Yeah,
As long as it's.
you gotta come up.
Name and
Yeah. John, you got to come up and tell us your name.
John Hart, Conservation Commission, Town of Stockbridge, 8 Rattlesnake Mountain Road, Stockbridge, Massachusetts.
What's your zip, John?
01222. I have a big problem here, and that is that I'm really familiar with the geography in this particular part of the lake. And right here, as we all know, is a very, pervious ledge that runs behind the spaceship. And it runs down here and it comes out. There's actually a graveyard up here, which is sitting on top of it. You have a failed septic system there.
Okay, but John?
Excuse me?
No, you excuse me. The septic system is regulated by Tri-Town and by the Board of Health, not this board. The ledge and issues around the LPOD are regulated by the planning board, and we're going to focus on the thing that we permit, which is the house.
Well, then, I have nothing to say other than the shit's gonna go in the lake.
We will endeavor deeply not to have that happen.
You need to take a sounding of where that.
All right,
ledge
so-
goes, because I know where that ledge goes, man.
I would, in defense of the design, say that should anything fail in the septic system.
But we're not talking, we can't discuss this.
It's not it's not the regulatory purview of this body. All right, so let's go back to my little cheat sheet here. I move that we close the evidentiary portion of the hearing and move to deliberation by the board.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call. Patrick, aye.
Chuck, aye.
Jamie, I.
All right. So, what do you think?
Oh, my concerns are, it's that whole, moving the building back, the whole back wall is making back of the buildings more non-conforming. Big time.
Yeah.
Even the wall for the septic over 4 feet is considered a structure underneath a building permit. That's more, that makes more.
I think they argued on the septic, it's a hardship, but I mean,
it's
nevertheless,
still-
it doesn't deal with the
it's still
non-conformity issue. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Into, with our end of it, it's adding to the non-conformity.
Okay.
It's just a really major, adding a really major thing to the non-conformity. There's a lot. Wait, I mean, extremely more.
Do you agree or?
I do agree with Chucky. And it just that the footage, the frontage, all of the feet, it shrinks and it becomes, less than we usually agree to. That's
So let me
all.
ask you a question. Would you rather, now that the hearing is closed, this is completely up to us. Would you rather bounce it back to the applicant so they can address this issue, or would you rather deny?
I'd like to vote on it.
Okay. So someone make a motion to approve, deny, or continue?
I vote we deny the.
All right, you make a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we need a roll call vote. All those in favor of denial? Aye, Patrick.
Chuck.
Hi, Jamie.
All right, thank you.
Vote to close the hearing.
And now we need to finally, I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, Chuck.
Aye, Patrick.
Hi, Jamie.
Yep. Okay. Let's see, we did that one. The next thing on our agenda is we are going to have public comments. Do we have any public comments? Just in general on any topic. Anybody wants to say anything? This is before you guys. I will say that the tentative date I'd like to set for the second homeowner meeting at a select board meeting, the formal one is July 25th, 2 meetings from now. Do you guys have any problem with that,
That's a
or
night meeting, one of our night meetings.
they're all night meetings
Yeah.
now? You guys
Yeah, I gotta
canceled
wait.
the morning meetings.
Yeah,
28th,
What?
July 28th.
28th or 5th?
28th is the Thursday, July.
They're on Thursdays.
Oh, I know. I thought it was the 20th. Sorry, I got it
You
wrong.
said the 25th.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah.
28th.
Well, that's because somebody typed it that way. I don't know who did. All right. Yes.
Totally unrelated to anything that you're
That's
addressing
okay.
tonight, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Having spoken to Clint and having spoken to Hugh, it has become really obvious that some of the town roads that are really driveways are really a pain in the butt in winter time to plow. The highway is just that, but, you know, you guys, I think the townspeople should address this. I think that it should be recorded as to how much it across the town, with all these one-way roads, like South Road and down there, and Sky Farm, and a couple others that used to go across the turnpike, because they're driveways. They're not town roads.
Yeah, okay.
And I'd just like to make it a matter of record that somebody look into it. That's it.
I think decertifying roads is not trivial, as I understand it.
There is a
but
process.
There is a process. And I think, let's kind of reflect on that. I think, I know the town talked about this a couple of years ago at one of the town meetings where the folks on Stagecoach, was it? There was some question about, about rebuilding a bridge there. But, in that case, the townspeople voted overwhelmingly to fund that rebuild. And that, in my mind, John, creates a little bit of a, let me finish, John?
Southward, yeah.
What?
Oh, Southward, I believe.
First Drive.
Yeah, whatever, this argument was made and the town voted in spite of this argument to take on that project. And it, to me, creates a bit of a precedent as to what the feeling of the town was. I think you make a good point that it's really expensive if there's only one house at the end of a road to maintain a road, but we're going to follow the law and what the town people say. And I'm not sure it's going to become an immediate priority, just to be completely candid.
Talking to the town superintendent.
It's not up to him though. It's up to the voters, but I hear what you're saying. Comment taken.
Plow up there and turn around.
Yeah.
I can get you the process so you guys are aware of it, and
well-
then you can decide whether to
Yeah.
do anything with it.
Okay, we'll definitely look into it, definitely. I agree.
Okay. What else you got? Anything? Now there's been, just to be aware, I've been asked to sort of answer questions at a couple of the upcoming, second homeowner associations. There's one a week from tonight, and some of the questions, I'm trying to get some of the questions in advance, and frankly, many of them I can't answer myself. So Michael and I are going to kind of try to get answers to folks. It's an informal. The formal second homeowner meeting will be on the July 28th, not the 25th, as you guys were saying. It's the 28th. But to the degree that folks invite any of us to go out, we obviously can't create a quorum, but we're certainly willing to get people answers to their questions. So. Anything else on the public comment section? All right, so next we're going to talk about some upcoming summer events that Stockbridge Bowl Association, the Laurel Hill Association are planning to do some big anniversaries. And I don't know which of you would like to go first, but you guys got to come up, maybe pull a chair up and the two of you can come up together or one at a time, but people can't hear if you don't come up. Yes, because the speakers are here and people are on Zoom.
Okay.
This is Hillary Dealey from the Laurel Hill Association. She's the president. Welcome, Hillary.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So what do you got coming up this summer?
Well, Laurel Hill Association is proud to announce that we are celebrating Frederick Law Olmsted's 200th, the celebration of his birth 200 years ago. And so I just wanted to give you a little tiny bit, and I have cut this so far back that it's not going to bore you, a little bit of back history. As many of you know, the Laurel Hill Association is the oldest civic beautification association in the country. But it also has been doing conservation work longer than many other places, longer than Yellowstone, Yosemite. All these parks were founded after the Laurel Hill Association. I just think it's an interesting fact.
Their bridges and roads are falling into the lake.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Right. So anyway, in about the 1850, our founder, Mary Hopkins, rode through Stockbridge Cemetery on her white horse, and she was just appalled at both the odoriferous odors and the shape of the cemetery. All the tombstones were falling over and there was no sewage then. So, the sewers were just running in the street, hence the odor. And so she decided to found this association. So going forward, in 1912, the New York Times called Laurel Hill the role model for beautification towns across the nation. So we really were the forefront of the beautification movement, and which also went got very big in the 1880s and 1890s. And we've had a lot of famous orators, as everybody probably knows, but I'll just tell you that Booker T. Washington spoke up at the rostrum for Laurel Hill Day, and over 1,000 people showed up. So that's the background. So Laurel Hill Day 2022, as I said already, is the 200th birthday celebration of Frederick Law Olmsted, arguably the finest landscape architect ever. So we are National Celebration partners. And the reason we are is because the Olmsted firm worked for 5 years for Laurel Hill. Little known fact, but when I became president, I started digging because, you know, I knew this bicentennial was coming up. And it turns out that Olmsted's firm did two things for us. They wrote an overview of Stockbridge for the future, which is a very interesting read, although I'm not sure it all applies. And they cited our railroad station, which is why we are valued by the Olmsted organization, who, by the way, did over 40 projects in the Berkshires, including Williams College, Miss Hall School, and many, many private estates, which, you know, so makes it more and more important. So this is our plan. Friday, August 26th at 5:30. We are going to have a historians panel called Olmsted in the Berkshires at the Hitchcock Room of the Red Lion Inn. And they are graciously our big supporters. The Red Lion, once again, is coming through in every way. And there will be a reception, and tickets are limited. So if it intrigues you to hear the local historians talk about what Olmsted did, I suggest that you let us know fairly soon. Now, Saturday is actually, which is now we're on August 27th, is actually Laurel Hill Day. So at 1 p.m., we're going to have a little children's parade. It's going to start right back here, and the children, all the children we can wrangle, I don't know how many that's going to be, but are going to march up to the rostrum. And two of my wonderful volunteers are going to sit them down, explain exactly who Frederick Law Olmsted was and, you know, why he's so important. Then there's going to be a scavenger hunt, which will be fun, through the woods and.
Is that for the adults or still the kids?
No, we're still on the kids. But anyway, so after that, we have, oh, by the way, about 1 or 1:30, we're going to provide transportation for people who have trouble getting up to the rostrum. And believe me, there are several. I don't always find it that easy myself. And we are borrowing a beautiful new golf cart from the Marion Fathers. And it'll be in good hands because it'll be manned by our very own Patrick White. So
Good.
that I have to get that on the record.
No.
Okay, I'm moving along. So our main program starts at 2 at the rostrum. I assume everybody knows what that is. This is where all the orators were, right up behind here. And it's gorgeous. It was designed by Daniel Chester French, which a lot of people don't even realize. So it's one of the, you know, major sites in the Berkshires. I just have to keep getting the word out. So we're going to start with an invocation from the Muncie Stockbridge tribe. And we're going to have the Berkshire Brass be the music. Our keynote speaker is the president of the National Association of Olmsted Properties. Dee Dee Petrie has been flying all over the United States, going to different sites. And it's a real honor to have her come here. And our benediction was Reverend Brent Damrow, whom we all love from the Congregational Church. And finally, and rather mysteriously, I hope, we are going to have a pop-up life-size Frederick Law Olmsted. created by Julie Love Edmonds. This is about 6 feet tall. She painted this. There's a famous portrait by Sargent that she was looking at when she was doing it. But it's amazing. I mean, the creativity in this town that pours out when something like this happens just is fantastic. So anyway, this pop-up is a picture of it. As I said, it's about 6 feet tall and it's braced so it can stand on its own. It's going to move around the town and just pop up somewhere. You can take a selfie with Frederick Law Olmsted, whatever, as long as you don't deface him or anything. But anyway,
And how much are the tickets for Laurel Hill Day?
well, Laurel Hill Day is free.
It's free. So it's a free event. Okay, that was a setup. All right, we got to move on, but okay.
Finished. That was it.
Thank you.
And anyway, I hope you all can come. I know Patrick will.
I'll be there. Yes.
Anyway, thank you.
All right, and now we're here about the 75th anniversary of the Stockbridge Bowl Association. This is Pat Kennelly.
I am president of the Stockbridge Bowl Association, and
Hey.
thank you for inviting me to speak on this. The Stockbridge Bowl is celebrating its 75th anniversary of stewardship, but the events that we have planned for the summer really want to celebrate the bowl and the connection it has to the people of Stockbridge. And to that end, our kickoff event will take place on June 25th, so this Saturday, at 3 p.m. at the Stockbridge Library. And we invite you to take a walk down memory lane. The title of the event is Celebrating the Stockbridge Bowl Over the Years. And it will feature photos and artifacts from over the last 100 years. And the event will run the entire summer through September 6th during regular library hours. So if you can't make it to the kickoff event with us at 3 p.m. on Saturday, you will not have missed it. It will be at the library for the entire summer. And I just want to give a special shout out to Wendy Pearson and Josh Hall of the library, who have been phenomenal in their help and going through the archives. They've just, I cannot thank them enough. They have been fantastic. The next event on the agenda is going to be Saturday, July 16th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we're calling it Beach Island Day. And by the way, you can all obviously take notes if you want, but you can also go to the library and pick up a bookmark that will list all the events that we have. And the library has graciously agreed to distribute that for us. But anyway, July 16th, 10 to 1 p.m., we're calling it Beach Island Day. And it starts at the Stockbridge Town Beach. And there will be a boat parade. There will be pontoon boat rides. There will be events on Quinniquot Island, including a drum circle with Terry Oliberry. There'll be a chance to decorate a canoe on the beach itself. There'll be DJs, there'll be snacks, there'll be prizes. It will just be a fun family event.
Pat, quick question on that one. Pontoon rides that pontoon boat owners are going to offer to the public, is that the idea?
Yeah.
And do we have a way to maybe see if any, I know we have a shuttle capability sort of. I don't know if there's any way to get people from Heaton Court to the beach that day, to sort of take part in that. Can we?
That would be great. And we have been working with Michael, who has also gotten us in contact with departments, because obviously we're concerned about parking and safety and all of that. And Mike has been fabulous on that. But that's a great idea. The more the merrier. And yes, it's the public. Anybody can be invited to come on those rides and come out to the island. And yeah, we're very excited about that.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, sorry.
No, it was a nice interruption. And the rain date is the 23rd, but we're going to hope for good weather. This is the Berkshire, so we have to be prepared. The next event, which we have every year, but is also part of the celebration, will be our annual meeting. And it's going to be, again, this at the Mount. We had it at the Mount last year, and the Mount has just been gracious in terms of hosting us. And you'll hear the updates on the bowl and what the SBA is doing. And also, as a continued theme of life on the bowl, there will be people who will be speaking in reminiscence of their time on the bowl. And you can come early. The meeting starts at 11, but you can come early or stay late and stroll the grounds and see the new sculpture exhibit. And as I said, the Mount is just gracious in terms of hosting us and partnering with this. Next up, on Sunday, August 14th at 9 to 11, is a walk in Bullard Woods, and it's an old growth forest guided walk. And, you know, thanks to Patrick, we've been introduced to Bob Leverett, although I know Moose knew him. And Bob will be doing, he's the co-founder of the Native Tree Society and a senior advisor to the American Forest. Also, there's a fabulous profile of him in January's issue of the Smithsonian where he talks about Ice Glen.
He said the picture on the cover is.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal. And Bob Leverett is terrific. If you have any interest in old growth forest, come. He is just unbelievable. And then at the conclusion of the walk, we'll be doing a ceremony and planting some new trees in Bullard Woods to honor and say thank you to our first responders for getting us all through COVID, and also to say thank you and honor the local land steward committees. So that is August 14th at 9. And again, we have a rain date of August 21st at 9. And then the last event brings us back to Bullard Woods for a little bit of an autumn walk. We are participating in the Housatonic Heritage Bullard's Woods Walk, and that will be guided by our own Kevin, AKA Moose, Foran, for an autumnal walk in the woods. And the rain date for that is Sunday, October 2nd at 10 o'clock. And that's what we have planned. So everybody is invited to all of them. They are all free. And I hope if you can't join us for all of them, at least one or two.
And I just want to editorialize for a second. Bullard Woods, what a fantastic resource. I live around the corner of it. And when you look at like Laura's Tower or the Mary Flynn Trail or Lower Bowker Woods, which I hear you're renovating, or Upper Bowker Woods, one of those or both of them, and every other property that Laurel Hill has. And then you complement all those with some of the town-owned properties like Gold Meadows and Ice Glen. This town has really over the last, well, since 1853, shown a commitment to open space in the outdoors that really makes it special. I wanted to thank both your organizations. So enough said, let's move on. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right, next we have, I just want to put this on to make sure we didn't lose any thread on it, Chuck. I know it's something that we had talked about in the last sort of session. Working backwards, you know, we talked about a special town meeting for the Main Street intersection sometime early fall. So kind of working backwards, what do you think we need to, you know, kind of plan for and approximate like kind of times of the summer if we're going to do it in the summer?
Talk with Mike. He was contacting the groups that we dealt with. We're discussing probably the end of, we got that meeting, probably first meeting of August, maybe second meeting of August. Being the last meeting of July is booked up with the other one. To go over the intersection, how we got there, all the work we did to get to that point. I mean, we had walkthroughs, we had walkabouts, we had plenty of meetings on this, and we came up with the select board, I believe, voted on this particular thing. We did a test with the paint and stuff, and they want to just bring it back into the public forefront, get the information out there, and get ready for a possible meeting, a special town meeting, if we have one in November.
As opposed to like September, October?
Or September, October. We can discuss the date. But it was just,
all right. So
it's a more of a, we got to get together with that group. To
And
get
So
the
it's VHB who is our consultants on the project, and we have the diagrams on the wall in here. Plus we can begin putting stuff up on the website to do. We did receive the Shared Street Grant. So the first two crosswalks in front of Town Hall and at Elm and Main Street are going to be covered by a Shared Street Grant. So we received a $132,000 grant from the state to do those two projects. So that'll reduce the overall cost. So we need to begin.
help people understand in 30 seconds what that grant will do that's beneficial to the town.
So it's gonna redo the crosswalks. One of them though is gonna become a raised crosswalk. I was just trying to pull up the diagram of what it will be. So it'll allow for better pedestrian crossing of the
Being
streets.
moved
Yeah. And
out of the intersection.
because right now, one end of our crosswalk does exit into a driveway, which is actually a violation of ADA. And obviously somebody blind crossing would never expect a car coming straight at them when crossing a road. So this brings in some of our compliance issues that have been identified for us to fix. So what I'll do is work with to get a new estimate. Some decisions this board has to look at is, one of the huge costs was whether we were going to put in our own period lighting, which is very expensive down there, or do we want to just maintain the lighting that's there and just reconfigure the crosswalks and focus on the crossing. So I'm going to talk to them, get those re-estimates done, get them to the board, and then set a meeting for either the first or second meeting in August. And then from there, we can get the information out to the public and then decide on.
I'd like the informational meeting if possible to occur in August, because I think there's a lot of people in the community who are around in July and August that want to kind of, try to make a commitment to include as many people in the sort of discussion, even if they're not technically able to vote, I would love to sort of, make that presentation on this. So, okay. Anything else there? All right. So you guys are John.
I ask a question?
Sure.
About the crosswalk. I know there's some state thing about the crosswalk that goes over to Minkler's.
Yeah.
Which is the single most used crosswalk in the town.
I think we're moving at 10 feet,
The
right?
only one that really does any good is over in Elm Street, so that you can get out of Elm Street and make a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn. And the same thing's sort of true of the one down on the corner of the Red Line Inn. But the fact of the matter is, if you're gonna get rid of the one in the middle of town, you're just gonna have people walking across the street with no protection whatsoever. And I'm sorry, state or no state, I wouldn't take that crosswalk out of there.
Well, and I think that's a great thing for the public meeting, A, and B, there's no reason why, just because the grant only covers two, that we couldn't conceivably consider a third. I don't want to say, because I'm not an expert at this one,
So
but
what happened is during the design of Main Street, it was under the Uniform Traffic Code, you're not allowed to have a crosswalk. There's distances between intersections and crosswalks that need to be maintained. So the engineers did identify that crosswalk as one that needs to be removed under that. So it's considered that you're actually creating safety issues by having too many crosswalks. Remember, crosswalks are where we're identifying where it's safe to cross and where we want people to cross. People can cross wherever they do want to cross. There is actually no violation there, but it's where we're telling people they're safe to cross. Right now, we're only working on the first two crosswalks. We're not taking any out at this point, but that has to be a discussion of the next one. And it could be just us deciding to just focus on, if we're not redoing the rest of Main Street, it may be allowable for us to just focus on the intersection and then not address the rest of Main Street.
like in terms of crosswalks.
Yeah. And then if we're not doing a review, then we might not end up having to remove it. When we go to do, at some point when we go to redo.
And to John's point, did they do a volume study in terms of like the use of each crosswalk and how much?
That's not how crosswalks work. So there's a whole section under the Uniform Traffic Code that explains how crosswalks work, where you put them in.
Not where you put them, I'm wondering if, like the point he's making about the volume of users in the current crosswalks, if we had confirmation or not of that statement, because, maybe it would inform the board. I'm always just suggesting, just around doing a study of like the number of, like kind of a day with the clicker, you know what I mean? But I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't address the issue that the crosswalks are basically too close.
Yeah, no, I get it.
That you're creating additional
Anyway,
stops in traffic.
The purpose of this meeting wasn't really to discuss the solution. It was more to just say, we're going to be dealing with
We'll
that
have
this summer.
VHB speak
Yeah,
on that,
right.
why they're proposing what.
Yep.
Good. All right. So next, I'd like to talk about some affordable and senior housing options and propose an initiative to you guys. And Liz and I have had a number of the conversations with like Andrea, Lindsay, and Michael together. And with your permission, I was wondering if Liz could join us up here so she could add to the conversation. This is Liz Wheeler from the Planning Board.
Just have to introduce yourself.
So,
You have to introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Liz Wheeler. I'm from 3 Hill Road,
all right.
and I'm on the planning board.
So, yeah, we're doing a good job with affordable housing. We're one of only 2 communities who are actually at the 10% designation. There's an asterisk that goes with that, which is that, of course, the census only counts full-time residents, which are maybe 35 or 40% of the homes in Stockbridge. But nevertheless, we're there. We're also a community that has approximately 1,000 people in their 60s or older out of 2,000 full-time residents. And in statistics, 1,000 is the lowest number you can have to get some predictability in terms of what people are going to need. So, I currently live in the house my parents bought in 1960, and my mom, true story, actually basically passed away in the front porch, and my dad basically passed away in the back porch. And if you ask anybody, they'll tell you that's exactly how they want to go. They want to age in place. They want to stay in their home. But what the math tells us is that something like 12% of us won't be able to do that. And that's maybe out of 1,000 seniors, maybe 50 or 100 or 120. Somewhere in that neighborhood, folks are going to need to downsize, not because they need a nursing home, just because they have too much house that they can manage. And I think as a community, that one of the questions I think the community should ask and frankly try to answer this year is, do we need options for folks that are not just affordable, they're a market, just so that if people want to stay in Stockbridge, they have an option to stay in Stockbridge. We have a question around workforce housing. It's the median house price in Stockbridge is now $600,000. There's not a lot of families who can afford to raise a family on a $600,000 house. And yet Stockbridge has been ever since 1734 and people have been raising families for going on 300 years. And I think that's important to a lot of us. We've got issues of thinking through solutions. On the one hand, doing things like accessory dwelling units might make it more affordable for young families. Also might create some housing for seniors. On the other hand, how do you regulate it in a way that doesn't just make our property all the more attractive in terms of that workforce housing for folks who want to invest in Airbnbs or short-term rentals? Because if you have 2 rentals, you can make a lot more than 1. There's a lot of complex questions here that I don't have the answers to. I work in graphics. I mean, I know as much about housing as these experts tell me, but I will say this, that there's a lot of folks out there who do know a lot about housing, a lot more than us. And I actually have had the honor of talking to people like Andrea Lindsay from our Senior Housing Authority, Stockbridge Housing Authority that runs Eaton Court, and June Wolf from Construct that manages Pine Woods. And today I actually had a chance to talk with a woman named Laura Schufelt, who is the director of one of the group that basically manages housing plans for the Massachusetts Housing Partnership, which is a Boston-based quasi-public organization, very large, that helps towns think through these issues. And I don't want to start getting into the weeds about should we do ADUs or not ADUs? Is the current short-term rental bylaw adequate? Do we need new bylaws at all? Do we need new housing at all? I don't believe I'm certainly I'm certainly not qualified, I should say, to answer those questions. I know that there are not lots. She says there's about a half a dozen specialists out there who can help us take a macro approach to answering these questions and produce something called a housing production plan. Now, Liz actually brought up the Lennox housing production plan when we were meeting. It's something I'd never even heard of, but what a great thing. We'll read Lennox's. And they're actually updating the one that they already written in 2015 and 17. And my sense is that this sort of a production plan, what's great about it is it involves community involvement. Basically, there's a process that's dictated that takes the whole town into account. Everybody contributes to an understanding of it. It has to be approved by not just the select board, but by the planning board and by the state of Massachusetts for it to be valid. So it's not like it's going to be one person's idea of what the solution should be. We go through a process similar to what we did last year with the MVP. and we involve a lot of people and we come up with a report that is basically a blueprint for what the town feels it should do with housing. And it's similar to a master plan overall, but in this case, it's really focused on answering first the question, do we need as a town to invest in housing? If so, what kinds? If so, where? If so, how? And the way that we dealt with the ARPA money allows us to invest some of it into a study like this. She said that the average rate of this is $50,000, maybe plus, maybe minus. There's also some state money like this DLTA grant, which we got last year to work on. What was that project? It was for one of them. We had got a $20,000 grant for something, and that's the sort of thing that Michael went out and solicited, and we could go out to that group again and try to solicit a new grant for something like this. My sense is it's short money to come up with, to get some help thinking through what the blueprint needs to be. And I would like to propose that we engage on an effort to create a housing production plan this year. And that's my pitch to you guys. So do you have anything you want to add to that, or?
I'm just here as Vanna White, you know?
Right, exactly. No. Does that make me the car or the like lousy prize where it's like $100?
I think you're somewhere in between.
Anyways.
What's
No.
the planning board's?
Planning board, we talked about it a little bit on Tuesday, and we're interested. We're interested in doing this. I'm coming from this as a townsperson. I'm on the planning board, and I also know about houses around here too. And we have a lack. There's a real lack. I looked at the listings today, and the cheapest one in Stockbridge was $599,000. It's a 3-bedroom ranch.
That's not going to change.
No, it's not. But I think if we can help get some funding to put some housing out there that's more affordable, if we need that, if we need it. And I think that's the thing, is we're trying to.
I believe we need it, but I think our issue is where. We don't have a lot of land. We're not as big as Lenox Lee and have all those open spaces where, in their industrial and their building. And getting developers to do it
Yeah.
Right.
at a price where they're not going to make a profit as they do the big ones. I'm 100% behind getting affordable housing, but I think it's going to be a really tough.
But we're not just talking about affordable.
Well, any housing, but I think, then we got to get the point of, we got to change our bylaws and stuff to make people.
But that's why we get help. This is more of a
We're
macro.
very restrictive on the bylaws, which is not helping. There's a lot to it.
Yeah. Look, I at a very personal level, I talked about this 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, when I decided to run. I was very specific. That website's still up that I ran on. The housing was the only thing I talked about. And I think the town, at least 2 years ago, endorsed the idea that we should look at this. And I think that, I personally don't think we have the answers, and I don't have the answers. The question of we talked to Construct. Could we build up? Could we increase the number of units there? We talked to the people at Heaton Court. There was actually lots at Heaton Court that went unbuilt that we could conceivably, build on now. Like part of that lot was targeted for an expansion that never happened. I'm not even saying that that's the right answer. I just think we need maybe a little bit of help thinking it through and a lot of input from the town.
The world has changed, and it hasn't changed at every level. And it seems like there's more of a divide at this point, and at least we should look into trying to help.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, of course.
There's a little bird that chirped in my ear once upon a time about a piece of property that's off Castleville Road, Stockbridge, that was going to be put up for affordable housing. Did anybody else hear about it?
No, but the whole challenge, my personal thought is that there's so many good one-off ideas, but nobody's kind of taken the time to kind of synthesize them and say, well, that's a good idea on the surface, but maybe not. Like Chuck's saying, there may not be some rationale for actually doing it. I am not even suggesting we need to expand affordable housing. I'm certainly not suggesting we need to expand it beyond the footprints we have now. I don't know the answers to these questions, and these questions should be answered by the entire town, not me or not the three of us or not even just the 10 of us, including the planning board.
I agree.
Yeah.
But here we have, I happen to sail with this guy every Saturday. Yeah, I sail against them, I should say.
We accept gifts.
And, you know, I don't know how many acres are involved there, but, you know, instead of putting up condos and cluster housing, you know, and it's kind of hidden in the woods and stuff like that, why shouldn't the town consider that? I think it's being an alternative to $600 and however many $1,000 that we're talking about as the lowest cost house in the town.
Yeah. And some of what we have, all of what we have now in affordable is rental. Should the town consider partnering with the Habitat for Humanity to build actually homes that you buy and that you own that are on the affordable rolls, like they build for people in Great Barrington and all other parts of the county and country? You know, there's a lot of open questions here that
What are you proposing?
I want us to take up to 50 grand of ARPA money and do a housing production plan this year that is designed to answer these questions and come up with a blueprint for the future.
How much?
Up to 50,000. And if
And
it
what
comes
is
in,
that?
now he's got to 3-bid them. And we're going to do a list of 6 vendors from the state that we talked to today. And I think, and I would like to, you know, she estimated that was number, you know, if it was 60 and we couldn't get this DLT money, we might need to come back and say it's 60, might come in at 35. Until you bid them, you don't really know what it costs. She said in general, this is kind of the budget that we need.
And what will this study or this, what are you asking from this survey or this study?
Well, the deliverables are basically a snapshot of where we are, an investigation that involves community involvement and discussion. We get a report that has to be approved by the planning board and select board, as well as the Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD. It will outline strategies for affordable housing. It can take into account how short-term rentals fit into that plan and how ADUs fit into that plan. It can include a bylaw review and recommended updates. It can include a location evaluation, town-owned land, private land, ADUs. It typically is a 5-year action plan. That's, I think, a requirement of the state, all vetted through community engagement. And there's some really specialized folks who just do this. And this one, Laura, she felt is going to help us evaluate potential vendors.
And how long will this study, the duration of this study?
I would want it done by, let's say, March 1st. So if we were going to then have a plan to take action on whatever the first steps of this 5-year plan are, we'd be able to take it to town meeting.
And is it a one-time cost or an ongoing?
It's a one-time cost. It's a plan. It's similar to the MVP.
One-time cost, and then probably similar to Lennox, every 5-10 years, you would update your plan.
Okay.
And then it would be a less of a cost. But I think specifically what John, you know, there's a piece of property, but exactly what do you do on that property? This is what a housing production plan would say. This is what you should be looking to develop. Now you can take a look at that and
Well,
say.
now that you call Mrs. Wheeler to the table to talk about Lennox, what's the story in Lennox?
Well, Lennox, if you read The Edge on Saturday,
I didn't.
see, you missed it. They did a survey, and you could get to it through that. And it was 2 different surveys, and it was very simplistic. It didn't answer enough questions for me, but it did get the ball rolling, which got me looking at what have they planned? And they've been updating their plans for the last couple of years. And they did it, I think, in 2015 and 2017. And they're now going back on their 5-year plan and doing it. And they are building behind the Marriott courtyard. There's, I think, 68 acres back there. And they're putting in a bunch of units at different levels of their 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And they're affordable.
Are they condos or are they houses?
Well, so hold on then. And last year we did the MVP, we had a survey, but we also had like 1 large meeting and then 2 small meetings. And we basically like tried to have, even during COVID, we tried to engage the community as much as possible. That was all over Zoom. But the survey is part of that community engagement. It's trying to get people to reach out and give you feedback. Anyways, I don't know that we have to beat a dead horse. I mean, do you guys have any thoughts on this?
Well, as long as it's ARPA money, I got no issue.
Patrick,
Yeah.
can are we allowed to
Everybody,
communicate?
Larry, go for it. This is Larry Ackerman, who has a house on Everett Road.
Yeah, hi. Larry and my wife Jan are here,
Hi, Jan.
Hi.
and we've been listening to this whole event, And I just as a quick background, this will be 30 seconds. We are second homeowners, and my family has owned a home here for 71 years. So I have a vested interest in the health of Stockbridge, Massachusetts. And I'm weighing in here because we have no particular knowledge of the dynamics of real estate, what Patrick is proposing, but Jan and I are very strong proponents of supporting the community at large, which means the young, the middle-aged, the old, whatever it takes. And I think we're heartened to hear the notion that we might be able to put a plan into place that steps back and creates kind of maybe a master plan for Stockbridge that can move us forward in a way that is smart and constructive and efficient. And I think that's kind of what I have in mind, and I appreciate your listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. So I make a motion that we move forward with the housing production plan and fund it with state grants if they're available, and in the absence of that, with funds from up to use of proceeds up to 50,000. If it's going to be beyond that, after we bid it out, we'll come back to the board and seek permission to go forward.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. That was important to me. I really appreciate it, your support.
No, I support it, just
Yeah, I know.
definitely 100% behind it.
We'll see if it could be, hopefully it won't be, what do they call them? Dust gatherers, some of these reports. Anyways. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is really talking to Michael. I just want to keep the Stockbridge Bowl on the agenda so we can get especially during season where it's such a short season, just wanted to know that we're making progress. I also see Pat is still with us. In the room, Pat Kennelly. And so you're welcome to participate, as well as Ron Broker and John from the Conservation Commission. Really, this is a public discussion. However, I would like to kind of specifically discuss and relatively limit it to discussion of dredging, the chestnuts, the test plots, and the harvester. So you want to start that one off with dredging?
Yeah, so just as far as the dredging, we're still, I followed up with GZA about the estimates of what it was going to cost for them to take on the additional work. Some things were done a number of years ago and need to be updated.
Yep.
And then as far as Bullard Woods and the dewatering plans and the field work that would need to be done. So they were supposed to update based on what was coming off, what was coming on. I'm going to request that for the next meeting. So we should have by the next meeting finalized numbers on how to proceed to get us to what's called 70% completion. We'll then move into design construction phase after that. So,
And are you working, as you get those numbers in, are you working through Jamie and the SBSC, or you want to come here because it's kind of a money discussion?
well,
How
I
do you
think
guys
that's a
propose we
discussion
sort
of how we want to first move ahead with that as far as the dredging. So the dredging's been handled by Michael Nathan and
Greg Wellington?
Camp. Sorry, I apologize. I couldn't remember for a moment. And so the two of them with Roxanne over the last couple of years had been the primary contacts with GZA. So now we just have to determine how we're moving forward. So I would assume that would be working with those two on getting these numbers, getting them updated, and then moving to the next phase. So.
Yes,
At the last meeting, the stewardship meeting, Michael Nathan said nothing had happened with dredging, and which I was confused about. It's good to know things are still moving along. But I don't have any new information, to be honest.
So that's where we are as far as the dredging update. Water chestnuts, they've been in the water. They've been removing the water chestnuts.
The water chestnut have been in the water, or the people?
The people have been in the water, removing the water chestnuts. They didn't find as much as they were anticipating. They said still under the contract, they could still continue to work a little further up. So I had them just do whatever they could to get it. So everything looks good. The water chestnut collection is done now. So then we can now move on to the harvest.
Well, and I just want to make that point explicitly that the water chestnuts were being hand harvested and they're extremely dangerous, invasive. That can really take over an entire body of water quickly. So our goal was to make that the priority, as I understand it, Jamie, to pull out those first before we even started harvesting in the outlet, because with the flow of the water and where it was around the island, it could have easily moved down the outlet. So, why don't you know,
And we worked in partnership with the Stockbridge Bowl Association on this project. So it's a good thing. We got it done. We got them out.
Is it completed?
It is completed. So the work is done and now we can move on to harvesting. So as far as the harvester, so I'll skip to the harvester right now because the harvester is being, the new GPS systems on the harvester, on the old one.
yes,
I hate to say, we're still waiting on parts.
that seems crazy, but okay. Got it.
For the other one, we had to end up reordering a motor and the motor is still on delay. So right now we're moving the larger harvester in to begin harvesting next week. So it's going in the water tomorrow. So I know Hughes coordinated it with police and the
Going in the water tomorrow.
company.
Yay.
Yeah, and begin harvesting next week. So they're getting it to the ramp, then they'll put it dock it where they usually do the larger one, and then we'll begin harvesting next week.
Good.
So so right now, what we are planning on doing is harvesting just the channel at this point.
outlet.
And that leads us into the milfoil test plots. We did receive from the SBA the proposed test plots. So I did reach out to Ryan Harrington, who is the person in charge of DEP now, and asked the question of whether or not, because our current harvesting plan says we will stay out of the test plots. They haven't moved them, so I said, can we go in the old one? Should we not yet? So I want DEP to tell me whether we can or can't. So right now, I've got the call into him, waiting to see what he says, because I know there's some small areas that could still be harvested, but it'd be like us driving quite a ways, then doing a little spot that we really need to know that. Yeah,
The channel has always been.
the channel is, so we're gonna begin.
Always as of.
The channel is in play starting next week. So that's not an issue. So it's
And it's
just,
not just DEP does not, NHESP is actually Department of Conservation.
yeah, there's been correspondence back and forth
And just so everyone knows, I don't know if you saw that memo today from Misty Ann, but
I read it.
they took the map and, the legend and said, that's great. Now, can you give us 6 new versions with 12 new pieces of data? And I know that you guys have a plan to do it.
Unfortunately, we do have that.
Yes,
data, and it's pretty
yes.
easy to give Ms. Deanne what she has requested, so we can.
Good. And I'm not complaining. I'm just simply saying that sometimes they throw curveballs that none of us can control because of the wonderful snail and,
yeah. So right now we have to delay the main lake cutting until we know where we have to stay out of in order to be compliant with our harvesting plan, because it does say that we stay out of the existing ones, and those are the existing ones as of right now. The other ones are proposed, which we agreed we would stay out of until DEP makes its determination on if they're gonna allow the switching of the plots.
It is,
And, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
He had committed to us during the meeting that they would turn this around
Quick.
pretty quickly.
and we also,
okay, so is there an estimated time of a decision?
No.
No.
and that's kind of the larger point I'm making is it's often out of our control.
No, I get it, but I didn't know if they,
To us was a week to 10 days.
okay.
Right.
I mean, 10 days seems reasonable.
Can I ask who is going to operate the harvester?
So we're either gonna use employees of the town to use it, or also Michael Nathan has agreed to do some of the cutting. And we brought him on as a part-time employee last year to cover him while harvesting.
Can somebody address the idea of loading it uniformly so it doesn't tip over?
It's happened once in 50 years, but yes, I don't think it'll happen again, knock on wood, and our best minds are on it, John, but yes, thank you. All right.
Yeah, John, yeah.
I think that covers it. Do you want to add anything or anybody else? Anybody out there? Hi, Lisa. How are you? Nobody else is showing their face, so I just am saying hi to Lisa. All right. On that note then, let's kind of keep moving on. That's, we're not doing that next.
Ice Glen.
Ice Glen, yes. You were gonna talk about, some of the, where we were and some of the challenges we have with Ice Glen.
Yeah, so we're up there, the trees are being treated. What we have encountered is that the trees are taking in the injection slower than expected. Partially due to the method that they're using and partially due to the condition of trees and the rest. So they are up here this week, and then this weekend with the 90-degree weather, it's pretty much gonna put an end to this season's.
Right.
So then what I'm gonna do is move toward shifting. So as soon as we get into where the trees are again pulling in nutrients, which they do beginning late August, September, October, that we would begin the treatments again and try to.
Into the dry spring that had something to do with it, correct?
Yeah, it could be.
Drying.
Yeah, it's
Moisture to draw.
it's just not, the weather's been cool enough and that, but it's not.
Moist enough,
Yeah,
rainy enough.
so it's just a constant challenge, but we're in place for one of the things we can do is basically come to an agreement to begin the treatments immediately in September, restart them again. And just keep plugging away at this and get as many trees treated as we can, get as many trees saved as we can.
We're not gonna save all of the hemlocks, that's the point though. And you know, and frankly, we're behind where we hope to be by now. And I actually put this on the agenda just so that folks would understand that, you know, we're trying, but we're not always able. The dream is sometimes a bigger vision than when the feet are on the ground or whatever that saying is, what we're able to accomplish. The good news is we're able to treat all of the ash trees and we're going to have Ken Gooch, our consultant, go and do an evaluation of them this summer to make sure that he knows better than we do how long these treatments last. But this is going to require careful monitoring and as many of the ashes as can be saved, we're going to save, and it may end up being fewer than we had hoped. So just wanted to get that word out there.
There's old growth forest on the west side of Rattlesnake Mountain and on the top, actually. And I never hear anybody talk about that. I hear Ice Glen all over the place and whatever, but on Mary Stokes' property, there are hemlocks that are half the size of that table.
Yeah.
In terms of their diameter. And, you know, we went up to the top of the ATVs, but we didn't go down.
Because the canopy of the hemlock is so far up there. I mean, I walked through Ice Glen easily 100 times before I ever did with Bob Leverett, who was the gentleman that Patrick earlier was referring to. And I never thought to look up, and I never looked up and said, oh, that one's diseased versus that one isn't. It's actually really easy to tell. If you look up at a hemlock and you can see through to the sky, it's got woolly adelgid, this black scale beetle. If a healthy hemlock, if you look up into that canopy, you should not be able to see through it. And
I just want people to know that they're there. And,
yeah, well, I mean, you know, yeah, a lot of times things that are very large too, are, you know, they're what they call first growth, which is, you know, ones that after the clear cutting of the early 1800s, you know, things that grew up and they've been there for now 200 years and they look giant. Old growth has basically never, ever been harvested. And, but whatever, I believe you. The town owns Ice Glen and that's been our goal to try to save that. So, any other comments on Ice Glen? Lisa? You're on AFC? No? Okay, then the next thing we have is the Soldiers Monument update.
Yeah, so Soldier Monument has gone out to bid, been awarded to Allegheny.
good.
So work will begin on the final work on the Soldiers Monument, getting it cleaned up, bronze restoration work done.
Great. And is the woman who helped consult with us a few years ago still involved? What's her name?
Amanda,
that's it.
Yep.
Right, okay, good. Any questions on the Soldiers Monument?
How long will that take?
So it should go into the fall on that. So the contract is 180 days that they have to complete, so,
Good.
which puts it into the fall. Yep.
Update bridges.
So the Averitt Road and Larry Wog Bridge, Averitt Road was the final blacktopping was happening. So the Averitt Road Bridge has come to almost completion. It's in good shape. We want to do some plantings and some other stuff around there to soften a little bit. You know, the cement structure's there, but the requirements of modern guardrails when you put up bridges, depending on the falls to either side. There have been some concerns about, the guardrails themselves, that they're bright and that. I know there was a desire to have wooden guardrails, but the state doesn't allow the installation on bridges of wooden guardrails anymore. Talking to Hugh and talking to our engineers, there is but it's a pretty substantial project as far as there's an acid wash that'll darken because it's a galvanized steel, but it's not a simple process. So it's something that we could look at if you wanted to basically darken the guardrails. We'd have to get permission from Mass DOT to do it and look at it. So we're just gonna look into what it takes to do that, but I'm not sure if it's something we can or should do, but it's something to at least look at what our options are. It's because of the coating that's on it, you really can't paint it. It would chip and come right off yearly. I mean, it's not, because that's the way it's done to protect it from the elements. It's got this coating on it. That's why it has to have an acid wash. Larry Wog is completed. All work that needs to be done on the Larry Wog has been done. All the punch list items have been completed. So for Larry Wog, closeouts for the Mass Works and the small bridge grant have all been submitted to the state. All monies, we've received all monies on that except for the final payment of 92,000. We had 1.5 million. The Averitt Road Bridge, I submitted the entire $500,000 final closeout to the state last week.
Okay.
So both projects will be closed out and will be part of our audit this year because we closed out the project.
Anybody have any comments on bridges? These two bridges specifically? Excellent. All right. How about we just talk real quick about the CTSB one?
Yeah, so spoken to CTSB. So one of the things is CTSB does not have the staffing levels available to keep up with doing every meeting. But they do have employees and others that may be interested in doing it on the side to cover some of our boards. So what I want to do is make sure that the boards that have paid secretaries, the paid secretaries are going to have to learn how to manage the logins, who's on, the rest. But for other boards, that can be a difficult thing for chairmen of other boards who are doing a lot of things. They don't have a secretary necessarily at the meeting. They don't have somebody monitoring the meeting or anything like that. So this gives us an option of doing that. They threw out a proposal of it's $50 an hour, includes having somebody on, includes 1 hour minimum with a half an hour of editing, which then they need to edit the things, get it uploaded and the rest. So I think it is an option to offer to those other boards if it's something we want to consider.
There's $175 a meeting.
Yeah.
It's for a 1 hour meeting. For 2 hour meeting, it might be
And then 15 minutes, it could be more. It does become a little pricey. But a lot of our boards, like Conservation has a paid secretary, Planning Board, Water and Sewer have one. I would attend the Finance Committee meetings anyways, handle those. And CTSB has to cover the selectmen's as part of the cable.
Is Steve on now?
I think he is, but
Hi,
it's
Steve.
Rich that I'm dealing with from CTSB. So the selectmen's meeting is included, something they have to do. It's all these other meetings.
That's got to fit in the budgets too.
Yeah.
I mean, that could add up.
That's one of the concerns. Now, if like myself or somebody was attending that could handle it, I could then, basically, they would be on call. We would need to give them 48 hours notice that we need somebody to cover the meeting. Then they would come in and cover it for that group. So it is something we could use at our discretion. And so how much we spend on it or don't spend on it could be. But you get into all from historical stewardship committee, the.
But if I log in myself, we don't get charged, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, just logging into the meeting is not all the controls. If somebody's Zoom bombing, if somebody's
Oh,
having
okay.
if we have any technical difficulties, if you're screen sharing and having,
Okay.
this is stuff that CTSB can handle behind the scenes for us. And it is a valuable tool. And I think it's something, like I said, got to make sure that the boards that have actual paid secretaries, that they know how to do it. And this is the
You
one.
expect Jennifer, well, let's talk about that for a second. You expect, Sally and Jennifer are great for, conservation and planning, but, someone Zoom bombs in and is showing murder porn. You expect them to be able to intervene and
They're gonna-
understand how to shut them down and do that. This is like
Well, they're gonna
non-trivial.
probably close the meeting.
I mean, I was at 2 meetings on the regional school district planning board where some kids were doing this, and it is like ugly, and it is really, I mean, you don't even know how to deal with it, and the professionals know how to deal with it. And I just want to make sure that we're gonna have enough training for folks so that.
So we did 251 meetings last year outside of the select board meetings.
How many hours?
So let's assume it's just 1 hour. That's an hour and a half. That's 300 and
400
something
hours.
times 75. as a
No, an
minimum,
hour and a half is, you're saying hour and a half meeting or hour and a half including the editing?
Including the editing.
All right, so then it's not 75 times 50.
No, sorry, no, the editing's separate. So.
No, but you said it was an hour for the meeting and half an hour for the
Right, so it's 70, and they're charging us 50.
75 times,
75
so you're saying 75 times 250,
Yeah. So 75 times.
about 20 grand.
Yeah.
That's just for an hour meeting if it's over.
And could be a
Hours.
lot more, and that didn't include our historical preservation, our zoning, our park and rec. You're talking 30 plus that. I understand what you're saying about Zoom bombing may happen.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that.
Our protocol would have to be for boards that don't know, that don't have, would be, they just end the meeting and then you.
No, our protocol could be that we hire, CTSB to run those 2 meetings too. I mean, let me just remind you that 2/3 of this town is now owned by folks who do not live here 10 months a year. And the other half of those people left are elderly. And I'm not willing to say that 20 or 30 grand is too much money to spend to keep the people of this town informed what's going on.
Fine, you don't
It's
have-
not up to me.
You don't have an authorization for a dollar amount that high.
Well, then we're having a special town meeting. Let's get the town to decide,
All right?
Wait. So do we have to, that would have to go to special town meeting?
Yes, if we're just using it here and there to cover meetings, we probably have enough in the IT budget to handle a few $1,000s of bills to cover those additional meetings. But if we're now talking about covering every meeting, regardless if they have paid secretaries or not, Adam, then you're talking moving into the tens and thousands of dollars. So,
But the paid secretary is 20% more than, there's 2 meetings of the Concom and 2 meetings of the planning board. And let's say they're even longer, maybe it's 10, 25% more. Okay, we got one talk at a time though. I'm just saying, even 25% of $20,000 or $30,000 is an extra $7,500. I'm not suggesting it's up to us. We can't authorize this spending, but we can ask the town if they want.
but
have hybrid
I was
meetings.
coming with a solution that we could do right now.
Okay.
That's if,
What we could do right now is the limited boards that don't have the support staff with them could do it. The boards that have the support staff
Yeah.
could log on, start a meeting. If we get Zoom bomb, I mean, the worst you're talking is you end the meeting and you reschedule it 48 hours later. And that, I don't know if you want to say to people, it's better for us you're spending $20,000 basically just in case people Zoom bomb a meeting. So that's one of those.
No, it's not about Zoom bombs. It's just about, for 2 years during COVID, 3 years now, whatever it's been since 2020, 2 years, doing simple math here, it's worked really well. And I just think if it's working really well, it ain't broke, as they say. And this is just a question of whether or not it's worth it to the town to spend, whether it's 20 or 40 grand a year.
And they may not have enough staffing to cover every meeting anyways, because when we go to present it to them, when I was talking to them, it was about trying to figure out what they could handle for capacity. Because you're talking about bringing on a lot of extra meetings that we did not do during. We thought there was a lot, but then when we added, there was even more. when we think of historical preservation, historical commission, you know.
Then you gotta look at the participation of these meetings. I mean, tonight we had 7, which was kind of on the high end, but usually there are 2 or 3.
You can't tell though, because people can watch them after the fact.
Yeah, but after the fact is after the fact. They can't vote, they can't change their minds, they can't participate. Zoom, for me, Zooms have somebody on there participating at our meetings to help us make, put the points of view across, help us make decisions. After the fact, you must read the paper or
What
go on
paper?
CPSB or do that, because after the fact, it's useless, at my point.
Well, I'm just not sure that everybody in town agrees with each other. Well, let's ask them. We'll put it on the town meeting. Kate had a comment before, and then Kate, do you want to say something? We can't read. Kate has raised her hand. Do we have others who raise their hands? She was first, and then we'll go to Ron.
Well, I was just thinking that you might find out which committee chairs that don't have secretaries are interested in just learning how to do it themselves. It's not really that difficult if you have a laptop, and Steve did up a step-by-step.
Yep.
It needs to be tweaked, but that might help winnow down.
The cause, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ron?
Chuck says, after the fact, does the meeting no good at all? If they want to sit and listen, that's fine. Very often, we have people that we can't identify, and they won't identify themselves. They sit and listen. Maybe they have something to add after, I don't know. But
To me,
it's a pain in the neck sometimes, really, to do this.
To me, if you're going to be on Zoom participating, it should be, you should be on camera. We should know who we're talking to. It's an open meeting. Their influence our vote or whatever. We should be able to see the person that we are talking to. That's one of my.
There's times we can't.
There are actually regulations around that, but we can look at that too.
They're there, okay, they're there. If they want to identify themselves at some point in time, then we'll talk with them, but they do or they don't.
No, I agree with Chucky here in that, there's Bruce, there's Edward, there's Michael Canales.
Well, you can't take Mike.
Clarence Santo, Kate Fletcher. They've all got their videos off. That's fine.
Bruce is on.
I go on there with my video off and, listen and stuff like that. I feel like I'm.
That's fine, but I think when you speak,
Guys,
you should be on video.
It's not.
When it comes to Concom, which I've been on for almost 30 years, I gotta tell you, when it comes down to it, they ought to come in and plant their butt in the seat. Come on, put the plans on the table. This stuff that, you have a pandemic, trying to read a plan on that screen.
Okay.
Is being presented.
I get what you're saying, but here's the thing. Just listen to me for 1 second, all right? We don't get to decide for other people how they get to interact with information. This is not like Lee, where it's 92% residents, they can drive up and show up. 65 to 70% of this town is owned by folks who don't live around here. Okay, now let me finish, and then you can go. Let me finish and then you can go. All right, and the fact of the matter is, I don't know if they're working. I don't know if they've got kids, because a lot of them are younger, whatever.
Exactly.
I don't know if they're at dinner. I don't know how they want to interact with information, but I'm not willing for those of us who are the government geeks in this room to decide how those people are going to interact with how the information of how they stay informed of what's going on in this town. And I'm happy to have a town meeting and to decide whether it's worth it to the town to spend 25 or 50 or whatever the number is to keep anybody who wants to be informed in this way informed. But we are biased, guys. Let's admit that we have to run a meeting and it's harder. 1 sec, Bruce. And it's a pain in the ass. I get that, but we shouldn't decide how other people interact with information, in my opinion. Let's ask the town and let the town decide. Bruce.
Hi, everybody. Here I am.
Nice to see you.
Yes, there really aren't any rules about requiring you to be there to participate. I mean, Roxanne tried to tell me that last year. People write to their congressman all the time and express their opinions. They don't appear in the hearing rooms necessarily. And so there's different ways to communicate with people. And that's the reason we're doing this. I differ with you, Chuck, in that I know a number of people who watch after the fact, and that includes me. I can't always be available on your schedules, your meeting schedules. And the other thing is, if I'm sick or I have kids running around behind me or I'm caring for an elderly person or something like that at the time of the meeting, I don't necessarily want to be on camera, but I don't want to miss what's going on either. So it's an option that I don't think hurts anything. I understand that it's a little disconcerting, and I've been in your seat, so I know what it feels like. But I think that there are plenty of people of good faith who are using this as a way to stay informed, and that was that was the main goal. And as long as we stick with that, we're good.
So I'd like us to really treat this as two questions. One is, I believe we should authorize Michael to do whatever and as much as he's comfortable doing between now and whenever we can schedule some special town meeting or next year's town meeting to kind of keep the train moving in the direction we want to keep it going in. And there's going to be some limitations. I understand that. Whatever realistic, no one's gonna give you a hard time if you can't cover every single one because we didn't budget for it. I think that we treat the first part of this decision as empowering him to do what he can and use his best judgment. And I think we treat the second part of the decision as when we're ready, let's ask the town. And let's get some feedback from folks, the normal folks who either are or are not watching these meetings either in real time or after the fact.
And I will say that, like I said, this was a plan to try to get all of our meetings on. It's just using the paid staff to learn how to handle behind the scenes, screen sharing, and being able to shut down the meeting if we were Zoom bombed, because that's what's happened with the school one. They couldn't stop it, even with professionals.
They had to shut the meeting down, and then they came up with a way to get them off quickly if they happened.
Right.
But yeah. So does anyone have a problem? Oh, sorry.
I just wanted clarification. Is there a way to still record the meeting so that they can get posted on CTSB? But I get to finish my question, Patrick. And that we don't have the interaction necessarily, does that save us any money?
No,
So we can still
either way, we're doing it
It's the
over
same
Zoom.
cost.
So you might want to, right. And I would make the argument for some meetings, I may be able to, like, for the SBSC, I may be able to figure out if there's a staff member I could have do it, at least at their workstation, log in and start the meeting, because that's what CTSB's doing. I mean, I know some of them, sometimes they're at home, they're not at so we have some controls. There might be, here's somebody sitting right here who's very tech savvy, who might be able to log in and assist a board that he's on.
It's a sledgehammer if somebody does something wrong.
A sledgehammer might not work. But Patrick, any board you're on, you might be able to be the person at least starting.
I'm so good at multitasking. Yeah, I get it. Okay.
Did the state ever come out?
Not yet.
Not yet, so that's a sticking point too.
Right, we're just the emergency provisions are there. Right now, we do have Kate has raised her hand again.
Kate again, and then Ron.
Yeah, so I heard somebody mention that there are some legal parameters around having your screen off. I mean, it would be good if someone on the board believes that there are, it would be good to look into that with town council and make that information.
So hold on, let me discuss this one first.
Excuse me, can I finish, please?
I know.
Patrick, can I finish, please?
You've asked twice now, and I said, yes, Kate, finish.
Okay, I can't hear you. So it would be good to make that information available on the website so people know. And, it seems to me like having your screen off is probably okay, but if it's not, we should know. And I guess I won't wear my PJs.
I guess. I read an article that, hold on. Let me just address this first. Then you can address the legal part. I'll address the political part. I don't want to take any action that might further decline the participation of folks via the hybrid meetings. I read an article that suggested and some of these lawyers don't always agree with each other, but one of the lawyers who's weighing in on this topic said there was a legal requirement that people have their cameras on. I don't even want to ask the question, Kate, because I don't want to know the answer, because I don't want 6 out of the 9 people who are currently on the Zoom to go away because they don't want to turn their camera on. I want people to participate in the political process and in how government works. That is a really core goal I think that this town should have. So if someone else wants to ask the question, great. I'm not asking that question.
So
I think you gotta wait till.
I hate to say, to answer the current question currently is the board members that are participating remotely must have cameras on in a hybrid meeting.
Or any.
It is not the attendees. So if one of,
there, you would have to.
right,
We all have.
any one of you three
Yeah, select board
were a selectmen's meeting, any one of you three were remotely participating, you have to have a camera on.
Especially,
And that's it. So Kate, there's your answer. If you're for planning board, if you're gonna be remote, don't wear your pajamas.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it.
Oh, we also gotta,
Ron had a comment.
we also gotta wait to see what the state comes out with too,
With the new rules.
with the new rules. That may answer a lot of our questions.
Are we the only town that's continuing to do this in Berkshire County?
As much as we are, I think
So
so.
it depends on the degree. So I have seen that there are a number of communities, obviously select boards are covered under the cable advisory, or under the cable contracts to be televised or Zoomed. So select boards are, and I find that there are a number of regulatory boards, conservation and planning boards that are. What is very uncommon is when you get to the other boards down the list. We had 251, if I remember right, the next community to us on CTSV was something like 50 other meetings outside of the select board, and another community was 30. So we're magnitudes more meetings happening.
So we have sufficient monies to do this between now and the town meeting?
If we're using the staff at the meetings, teaching them how to do the login so that they can start the meeting, start the recording, and then screen share. Then,
That doesn't cost the town anything.
no, because we'd be using our own staff. CTSV wouldn't be on.
But don't they record it?
They'd be we would start the recording, or they could actually set it up for an automatic start. So once we log in, it automatically, and then they go in and trim it.
But don't we have to pay them for that?
No.
Just
We only have to, if we want a physical staff member monitoring the meeting during the meeting, outside of select board, we have to have paid staff.
All right. One last point. I'll just point out that the average age of the median age of the Stockbridge population is approximately 25 years older than the state median age. And that the rest of Berkshire County has 5 or 10% second homeowners or 15%, and we have 70. So I'm only suggesting that, it may not be that we're comparing apples to apples. And on that, I simply want this board to authorize Michael to pursue his.
I got no issue with
Question.
that.
All right, so let's have a vote. I make a motion that Michael pursue his sort of triage of meetings plan, whatever that may be. Unartful in terms of my description in the motion, but you guys get the point of what I'm saying.
Can we have clarification?
Well, then make a better motion, yes.
Right now,
Or you
I
make it.
was planning on just operating from the fact that within our IT budget and using our staff, that we can cover almost all of our
So
meetings.
why not? We have to vote on it.
So I don't think we have to.
He's already
vote on
doing it.
I will
Can't do that
just-
forever. You're saying we can do it for the summer, right? Or-
No, I'm saying if we use that plan, I think we're well within what we can do. But if you want to start getting to the point where we have a staff, a CTSB or whoever at every meeting.
No. I want as many covered as possible, however you come up with it.
All right, then I will continue
Good. If
that.
he's got a plan.
We don't have to vote on it.
I misunderstood him half an hour ago. We could have made the slide shorter. Okay, good. Any other questions on Zoomy stuff? Should we switch to Microsoft Teams?
Please don't.
Throw it out there?
No.
Kidding? All right. Then moving on, let's take the enforcement primary and move it to a future meeting. It's getting kind of late. We have a few other things to do. Does everyone have a problem with that?
Nope. I don't know what it's for, so.
All right, excellent, thank you. And so now let's also take action on the minutes of the next meeting. 1 day alcohol licenses for Chesterwood. Do I have a motion or do you guys want to talk about it? Did anyone from the public want to talk about it?
I'll make a motion, we accept all the alcohol licenses for Chesterwood.
I'll accept, second it.
All right, is there any discussion from the public before we take a vote on this?
You hear me talk?
What?
809.
That was for us or no?
I don't think so.
Nope.
All right. In that case, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Obviously, that's no. Okay, excellent. Those are all done. How about one-day alcohol licenses for the Berkshire Botanical Garden? For a bunch of weddings.
I'll make a motion, we accept the dates for the Botanical Garden.
Jamie?
I second it.
And anybody have any comment on the Botanical Garden, weddings, et cetera, that are on this, on the agenda, listed out on the agenda in the public? No, then, oh, wait,
I have a question.
yeah.
These nonprofits that hold these events, do they pay the same sales tax that say the Red Lion Inn would pay?
On, you mean on like occupancy and on the meals tax?
Sales, liquor,
Yeah, like Tanglewood, for example, remits for their food and beverage, the 6% of the town that Red Line does, yes. Now, on something like a wedding where it's an open bar and it's basically, I have no idea. I'm not, and it's impossible for us to know because the state won't tell us who pays what. They only give us their lump sum check and says you earned $100,000 this quarter, whatever the number is. There's no easy way to understand who's doing what.
that is the competition.
I get it. That's a great one for Smitty and for Adam Hines because we don't have access to the information. You know,
I just didn't know if anything was remitted to the town
we don't get a report.
in these
They
functions.
pay the application fees.
Right.
And
Yeah,
and
that's what
if it's a
too.
wedding with or they're just applying for a one day,
Yeah,
so
that's
there's
right.
no sale.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
If it's a cash bar, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, you never know.
FYI, from somebody who spent 22 years in the restaurant business and catering,
And who's that?
me.
Oh, okay. Kidding you.
You know, generally, maybe things have changed with barcodes and stuff like that, but generally, in the past, you would show up at an event with X number of cases of white wine, red wine, bourbon, gin, vodka, whatever. And they were full. And then whatever got consumed at that particular event would be charged to the person who hired the caterer,
Right.
also known as me. And then we would pay the state tax and whatever else taxes on top of what we charged them. That's the way it was. I don't know if it's the way.
Supposed to work that way.
I don't know if it's the way it is, but that would be the answer.
Because the state won't share information with us on even what each organization is paying, let alone what they're collecting per event or per day or whatever, there's simply no way for us to know whether someone's in compliance.
The caterer has the obligation.
They have an obligation. Yeah, I'm not
This is just-
suggesting that people
right,
are,
this is
yeah.
Just
yeah,
the
yeah.
venue
If it's a case,
asking
yeah.
for permission to
Yeah,
sell.
that's right. Right. I'm just addressing the question of like whether we're collecting money. Who knows? I don't know.
So the whole benefit of the town is the issue of the permit, if there is any benefit.
Well, the benefit of the town is also to have, look at it. I think they've got 5 or 6 events. And the one that we're about to vote on, Botanical Garden, they've got 5 or 6 events for what looks like 4 weddings and then 2, an Austin Rick's graduation event and an exhibit. So 6 events they're doing. So I think that there's also a benefit of the town.
Permits.
What?
There's 6 permits.
1, 2, 3,
6 events that they're planning in July.
7.
Is it?
Graduate from Riggs.
I guess you graduate. I don't know. It says graduate from Austin Riggs,
Yeah.
yes. Who knows?
So
What is the university?
is the fee always $30? Just $30 to get?
Yeah, it depends on which license they're going for. I think one days are all 30.
That seems so low,
That could be something the board could look at in the future.
We talked about updating the fees.
Extremely low.
really low. And can I just ask, and I think Chucky tried to tell me, when it says 4 to 11, it's 7 hours. Is that the customary cutoff time or not?
11 is,
For entertainment, alcohol licenses and the rest in the residential zone, the cutoff is 11.
Okay, and do they need to stay within a certain like noise parameter? Because like the botanical gardens, there is residential surrounding them.
They've taken measures at the last meeting to say where they're gonna hold their events.
Right.
There are some they have entertainment allowed on weekends till 11.
Okay,
So
so that's
it's
common.
pretty common.
And the special permits or the, just general licensing for entertainment is separate from alcohol. These are just the alcohol licenses.
I know, but I can ask a question.
I get it. Okay.
A lot of times, like one of these weddings, they'll come in and they'll spend 3 days at the inn, you'll have the wedding out there, or 3 days at
right.
another venue, so it's,
Right.
So a 3-day event is one permit?
no, so like, say they got an event for a Saturday night at Chesterwood, but they might be spending 3 nights at the inn or 3 nights at, Wheatley or something like that. and
Ron
they
Broker
change from there.
Airbnb, something like
I'm
that.
just saying, there is some benefit. I know it's the nonprofit and it's a sticky point and, it's just part of their,
State allowed it as a way of, under
Make it- yes.
amendments, to allow them to raise money.
so it's out of our hands kind of, to me, it's kind of out of the realm of their, what do you call
Their
it?
religious or
Their,
education.
Mission statement.
Their mission statement, but our hands are tied.
Yeah.
They can do these to raise money to support their
Yeah.
mission. That's the way that amendment was written.
Yeah.
And we still have 2 executive sessions, so I'm gonna stop debate or discussion of this and have a vote. All those in favor, we have a motion on the floor
One for
for
Norman
Berkshire
Rockwell.
Botanical Garden.
Rockwell,
No, we never voted on
Okay.
Berkshire Botanical Garden. So all those in favor, aye.
Aye. I'll second
All
it,
right.
aye.
And then do we have any discussion on the Norman Rockwell Museum? They've got,
Fundraiser.
June 25th fundraiser.
I'll make a motion, we accept that.
All right, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, yes. Okay. So the next one is there some text you want me to read in this one?
No, we're not going to executive session.
Oh, we're not?
No. He agreed to you guys, we had the strategy session. I met with the chief. He agreed to the language and now it's just a vote to
Police
approve
chief.
his contract.
The police chief.
Yep.
So
Sort of.
anybody want to talk about the contract? Is it available to the public? Well, I don't think it was in the packet.
Once you approve, it was in the last one that we had.
Is it in the packet though?
It wasn't in the packet. Typically, your
don't put
personnel
contracts in the-
contract, but if somebody wants to request it, they can see
So
it.
if anybody wants to see the contract, they can request it from Michael, but we're not going to post it.
Yeah. And if
Is
you're-
there any discussion you guys want to make on this contract or are you okay with it?
No, really, we already agreed to it, so
Yeah, that's
We
what I'm saying.
agreed
I
to
know, I know.
everything except
Just
for
ask
the
him.
disciplinary
So
language.
do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept the police chief's contract.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Ron, you
Now,
might want to stay a moment. We have the appointments.
yeah, I'm gonna,
You gotta
Okay.
sign that.
yeah.
Yeah, we have a bunch of stuff to sign if you guys want to.
Okay, so let's deal with some of the easy ones first.
We have a list or no?
I am,
I have the list if you want just an overview.
I got,
So right now, you have decisions that need to be made on the Conservation Committee.
That's Ron.
So let's, Ron's here. So we had appointed Tom LaBelle, and,
As a member.
As a
Bill
member.
as a member, and we did at the meeting, and it was, so we have 3 people that are now up for full membership, but only 2 alternates. So at the last meeting, we had listed Sally as an alternate. She's been listed as an alternate all these years. In 2016, she submitted the paperwork to disclose her position as secretary so she could be a full member. So it was the understanding of the conservation chair that Sally was a full member, but she has been appointed as an alternate all these years. But we didn't fill the other positions, so she was basically serving as the alternate on those. So now what we have is we have Tom LaBelle, Bill Luttrell, and Sally, who would all like to be full-time.
all right, I've got a question. Do you have a recommendation?
Yes. He told me. You wanted
Just
Tom
ask
and
him.
Sally, right?
I'm trying to figure out where the math is going wrong here.
We have Chuck.
Sally's been considered a member,
She is a member. She's been an alternate
but not
though.
an alternate, a member.
What you consider and what the prior select board's appointed her for are clearly 2 different things. If you're going to recommend that Sally is the full member, then we will appoint Bill and Chuck as alternates, and if they don't want to serve as alternates, they don't have to serve. It's up to them.
And Tom would be full.
I mean, well, I'm just looking for a recommendation. You guys, you know, you're the chair. Tell me what you want to do.
Sally's a full member, Tom and Bell's a full member, and the two.
And the new guys are the alternates.
Is that something we voted on, or is that?
We're gonna have to revote because there's an error. We have 8 full members we've appointed and there's only 7 slots. So it's kind of an issue, go figure. You know, so your recommendation is, the chairman of the board, is that Sally and Tom, as the folks with the more experience, come in as the full members, and then the new guys come in as alternates, which is how it has worked since the beginning of time. By the way, I will point out, when I was first appointed, I was an alternate. It took me about a year to get promoted to be a full member. It was quite an honor. I'm saying this is how it has always worked. It is not controversial. It's not meant to be controversial. It's just simply that I couldn't do math and we appointed 8 people. Okay, so let's put the blame where it lies and not make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Confusion was with the town report.
Yeah.
Why that never changed over the last couple of years, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be happy to be the fall guy in this one. So I make a motion that we sort of amend the appointments around the Conservation Commission, and we appoint Sally as a full member, we appoint Tom LaBelle as a full member, and that we appoint Chuck and Bill Luttrell as alternate members and let them understand. What?
Not me.
What?
The other.
Chuck.
Chuck Cord. Chuck Cord. Yeah. Is that, do I have a second? Are you guys good with that?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
But if you want to serve on
No.
Conservation Commission, Chuck, we could maybe make room for you. Who do we bounce?
Maybe when I'm done being selectman.
Ron, what about you? You want to retire? I'm kidding. Okay. All right.
All right, so that's fixed.
That's done. All right.
And that's all we
There's a
do
couple of
about
them, there's a couple other ones that I just want to point out that we've got to deal with. One is, I'm going to actually ask for about a 30-second break to make sure I don't miss anything.
Go for it.
1, 2.
Take your time.
Hold on. And I have another sheet of these appointments. Here we've got, I've got a couple of questions. One, we have 4 people on, I'm going to do the easy ones first, then we'll talk about the ones that may require a little more discussion. We have 4 people on the Council of on Aging. Are we going to have a select board rep or do we want a 5th so it's an odd number?
Just need a 5th.
Is this a new thing?
No, it's a new old thing. It's one of these ones we're
The
resurrecting.
boards that stopped.
Oh, and you're
COVID, and
I just don't like even numbered boards.
No, we gotta.
Well, we can figure that out.
Okay, so we're gonna, the point I'm making is that we're looking for a recruit. I'm announcing it right now for the Council on Aging. We have a 5th person that we could potentially want to add on there. Do either of you want to be a select board rep to that? As it is now being relaunched, I do believe that one of us should, at least attend the initial meetings and kind of, be able to report back as to what's going on. Do either of you want to do that?
Me and Teresa are attending both meetings right
Good for
now.
you, you're on the board.
We can report
When do
back.
I
they,
get that. I'm not asking you, I'm asking them.
I don't think we need a select rep. We got Teresa.
I'm going to attend the meetings if I feel like it.
when do they
So,
meet?
So we haven't held, so right now, I've been working in the last 3 or 4 months to get programming and other stuff lined up. They've been my working group. So I can establish working groups to get us started on stuff. But we're heading toward this fall of actually reopening. So we need
And we
to get
appointed these
board-
4.
Right, at the last
Yeah.
meeting. So we need effective July 1st for the new year. So we'll begin.
Believe me, the first year of COVID, we didn't appoint anybody. So,
Right.
if we can make the July 1st deadline, we will. If not, we'll do it the first
No, I
meeting.
plan on, we'll be calling meetings and we'll be attending the meetings and we don't have a set schedule. It's gonna be a random,
It's going to be posted now that they're appointed.
now that it's pointed, it's gonna be a
All
posted.
right. So if anybody wants to be a 5th member of the Council on Aging, should we decide to add a 5th member, that would be great. Just contact Michael or the select board or both. What is our procedure if people want to serve? So in the past, they've been sending a note to the select
But
board.
they had
email.
to send an email or a
Email
link.
to Mike or-
Okay, all right.
Yeah, if they send it to the selectmen.
This one's no different than any other town committee. I'm just saying I like one procedure for
Send it to
everybody.
the selectmen at stockbridge-ma.gov. It'll go to all of us, including myself and Teresa.
Okay, so that's one. The second one that we have 4 on is, and I found it, now I've lost it. I'm getting tired. So we dealt with conservation. We have 2 more applicants on Campusa. Rich Bradley, who lives in the neighborhood, is asked to be appointed. And Art Dutiel, the National Shrine of Divine Mercy has asked us to appoint Arthur Dutiel on their behalf.
Oh, God, yes.
Yes, I know. Exactly.
And
So I would like
that
to.
comes up, people don't mind anything.
Right. So I would like to appoint, I've talked to Art, he's agreed to serve. I would like to also make a motion that we add to our new Campusa Bog Stewardship Commission, Art and Rich.
I'll second that.
Pardon me.
Yes.
I wrote you guys.
Oh, and John Hart. I couldn't think of the third. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
You're
no,
right here.
no.
So we're going to do 6. And just so we can keep it odd, John Hart also wants to serve, so that'll give us up to 6. And this is one because I've sat in on all the meetings so far. I would like to actually be the select board rep or even just appointed, so we're 7.
I'm a neighbor.
Unless you would, do you want to be the neighbor?
No,
John?
I'm the neighbor of it. I don't want
All
to
right.
be involved in case.
Okay,
any-
so
Huh?
Across the bridge across.
we're nominating 3 people then, John Hart, Art Dutiel, and Rich Bradley. Anybody want to second that?
Oh, I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Sorry, John. And you're right there. Boy, I could not think for the life of me who the 6th was. All right. Now, listen, we have an opening on the Regional School District Planning Board. This is to merge the high schools. It sort of is a, sister project to building the new high school. It's one of the most consequential boards for the next generation of this town. We have an opening. I've not seen any candidates, but if anybody wants to serve on the RSTPB, please. That's done?
I missed-
Please contact us, all right? Then that brings us to the SBA and the SBSC. So the first question I have is for you, Chuck. Is this, we've talked a little bit about who should do what. You're the senior guy on this board. Do you want to do either of those committees?
Which ones are they again?
SBA or SBSC? You're the guy with the seniority here. Do you want to be?
I would
the
have
rep?
no issue doing the SBA.
All right. I make a motion that we appoint Chuck to be the SBA, the select board rep to the SBA. You want to second that or no?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye, Patrick, or aye? Aye.
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 All right. Thank you, Chuck. And now we get to the SBSC. Jamie, what's your thoughts on that at this point? You've been the chair, you're the most experienced person on that for here, but,
I have been doing it. I would like to stay. You have said you're interested. I don't think we both can be on it.
No.
Thanks, Chuck.
No, we can't have 2 selectmen.
I know.
It's not going to happen.
especially one that this job is to advise the selectmen. Maybe we could also just advise ourselves, yeah.
You guys are multitasking.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, I'm listening.
not. I'm just shuffling a little bit here. Anyways, so thoughts,
I said my thoughts.
look at,
You don't like what I had to say.
I didn't not like it. I don't not like it, not like it at all. Here's my personal feeling, Jamie.
Go
This
ahead.
is not, I don't feel any more or less qualified than you or anyone else to serve as these liaisons. I've wanted to do this since I got elected to this board and I had 11 months left. And I would personally like to do this one session. I'm happy to have us.
What do I get?
What?
Then what do I get? What's the
about,
compromise? What's the?
How about the eternal thanks of the chairman? Was that enough? No?
Nope.
Yes? No? Look, what do you want to do? I mean, I'm asking, there's just like 25 committees here, you can, do you want to do any of the other ones? I don't know, but I don't even know how to answer that. I'm just saying. I wanted to do this one and then Roxanne obviously founded it. I was the chair of the SBSC for a week and then.
Patrick, stop.
So as of right now, you're on as the conservation representative.
She's been appointed for 1 year.
We appointed her for that 1 year, so she's on there at this point.
You want to let her do another year? I'm not going to oppose it.
You have an open selectman position.
But we can't put a
Could
selectman,
move Jamie to the selectman one, which would then leave a conservation opening.
John Hart.
No, I actually, this is not, we don't need anyone to weigh in on this one. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm going to let.
You can't tell them that.
Oh, yes, I can. I can limit this discussion to before I'm the chair. All right, and I'm going to do that for now. I'm interested, if you want to nominate
Patrick, I don't
chair.
want to have an argument. So
I'm not
you
arguing.
take the selectman's
I'm just tired.
position. No, you've been a little amped up, but you take the selectman's position and you'll have to find a conservation person.
So you got to resign from.
If that's what you guys want, I'm not saying, I'm not requiring
Look,
that.
I know how to do this.
Oh, I'm for myself. I just want to make sure we're doing this.
All right, I'm happy to speak more slowly and do not mean to be amped up. This is not so important to me that I want to hurt the relationship on the board. So if you think it's better that you serve, or you think that it's better if Jamie serves, I'm happy to defer. I'm saying personally, I've wanted to do this for a while. It's so what? We don't always get our way, so I'm okay if I don't get mine. I'm asking you, what do you want to do? What do you want to do?
I gave my recommendation.
You didn't. You said we could do it either way.
No, I just said, you can have the selectman's seat, you find conservation person, because we can't leave it open.
Was that your recommendation, or was that your compromise? Was that, you're doing me a favor?
It doesn't matter, just,
It does
it's
matter.
8:30.
Are you officially resigning your?
Patrick didn't say yes or no yet, Chuck.
Okay.
All right, I'll say yes. Sure, I'll take it.
Yes, I am resigning, Chuck. Not from conservation, the commission, but from the
the
seat of.
representative of the conservation.
So Ron, at your next meeting, can you put up someone that you want to serve on the SBSC and make a recommendation to us for the next select board meeting?
No, let's go, meeting.
At the next select, I would like your commission to make a recommendation.
Let's make a motion to accept Jamie's resignation from the.
Okay, second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then,
We got to make a recommendation.
yeah, we're not, don't we still have the executive session with Vinnie?
Yes.
All right, so we're not going anywhere yet, guys.
That's not on the
Chuck's
agenda.
leaving.
That's not on the
Well, you
agenda.
can,
Yeah, it is.
yes, it is.
Chuck's leaving.
It's on the second
Second
page.
page. You got a second page? So do we got to vote you in?
Yes.
So I'll make a recommendation. We make Patrick the
Select board
selectman
representative.
representative to the committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right now, we have, so
No, they're not.
remaining with the Stockbridge Bowl, we have an open position for the conservation. We have an open position for the Board of Health, which is now a non-voting member.
No, we don't have
No,
a,
I
we cannot
thought
do the Board of Health.
Fields was doing it.
But,
There's
so,
only 3 members of both boards, Water and Sewer and Board of Health.
you voted at the last meeting to make Jim Willis a voting member. He was before a non-voting member, and you made the Board of Health position a non-voting member.
I think I got him all, Chuck.
So Jamie, you are correct. Jim Willis is now the voting member, but there is still a Board of Health open
I thought he
position
was
as a
doing-
non-voting
It
member.
doesn't matter if they're voting, it matters that they're not deliberating. How do you have 2 people from the Board of Health in one meeting that involves
Jim Willis
organizations?
isn't on the Board of Health
John Medici is.
in that. Jim Willis isn't on the Board of Health.
You're not listening to me. Just listen for a second. Now we're all getting tired. John Medici is on Water and Sewer, which has 3 members.
Right.
And he is on the Board of Health, which has 3 members. If we appoint a non-voting member from the Board of Health, you're still putting a quorum.
Then change the composition of the board.
Well, we could change the stakeholders.
You can.
I know.
But right now, I'm only advising you of what is currently open. I know, I'm trying to stay.
I'm dense, sorry.
So right now, your current openings are, because of Jamie's resignation, you have a voting member position on the conservation. And right now, because you just switched Jim Willis and the Board of Health at the last meeting, you do have an open position of the Board of Health as a non-voting member. If the board wants to change the stakeholders, and you did mention about maybe making a park and rec or something else, you haven't taken that action. So as far as the sheet that we're using, right now, you have an open, non-voting member position for the Board of Health. If at some point you want to change that, change it.
And now I'm gonna ask a question, I'm not dictating. If we were to appoint either Charlie, if you want to serve, I don't think he does, or
Charlie doesn't want to serve.
I'm asking a hypothetical question. We want to appoint Henry or Charlie from the Board of Health.
Yeah.
Even as a non-voting member, wouldn't that still create a deliberative
Yes,
concern?
you could still create a deliberative
Yes,
concern.
okay, that's
Yes.
my point.
So the
So we
board
gotta figure it
needs
out.
to either change the stakeholder group, but you haven't changed it. So
I'm gonna let SBSC elect a chair and make a recommendation
They
to
should
the
not
board on what
change
we
their
do, if that's
election.
okay with you guys. All right, good. Excellent. If there's any other business before us, before we get into executive session, speak now or hold your peace till the next meeting. Good night. Thank you for coming, Ron. See you later, John. What's your name again? John, right? Because I was forgetting. Yeah, okay.
Mr. Hart,
we need you to read the,
John, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, appreciate it.
of the agenda, just read
Yeah, okay,
what's
I
right
know.
there on the back page of the agenda.
I will. I'm going to vote. We are going to vote to enter into executive session for MGL Chapter 38, Section 21A2 to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel, fire chief. The chair will decide whether or not the board will return to open meeting session upon completion. We will not of the executive sessions. So roll call vote. Aye, Patrick.
Chucky.
I can't vote on this.
No,
He's recused.
Oh, aye, Jamie.
All right. We are done. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, anyone who's watching.